What's up, kid? Hector Rico here, and today my racing thoughts and my autism are going to make me talk about Dr. Phil's retirement because he retired from his TV show and now he's moving on to his podcast. And there's a big sigh of relief that I'm glad he's finally off the air. You know, so let's go back to the very, very beginning. Okay. I'm here in Texas, and in the late 90s, it was this big, big deal that Oprah got in trouble in Texas because she had slandered uh, beef. Like in general, she did like some episode where she condemned beef all to hell, and all hell broke loose because of that. She got into a lot of trouble, and Oprah had to come here to Texas, and it was a whole media circus behind it, and everybody's freaking out, and they're like, Oprah's here, and they were taking her to court for that, and that's around the time that she started introducing the world to Dr. Phil. She would put him on TV like once a week, kind of like grooming him to have his own TV show and stuff. And it's kind of funny how she's wealthy enough to just cover her tracks and make sure that nobody remembers that. But I'm glad I brought it up. uh, I've seen a lot of crazy things, man. I've seen a lot of crazy things, like, all over the place. And I'm not even going to pretend to understand rich white people problems because only they could understand them. I've, I've seen a lot of crazy things on the north side. That's the wealthy side of town. And don't let the media fool you. It's not just white people living up there. It's a lot of people from India, and it's a lot of people from Asia. And I'm not discriminating against anybody. I have no problem with nobody. I really don't. I'm just trying to, like, tell you the truth and be honest and stuff. I don't like the distorted media. This is how old I am. I'm convinced that every barrio, like every ghetto, for some weird reason, always has one really wealthy house that has no business being there. Maybe it could be a McMansion or something, but that's just the way it always goes. And growing up, there was this one white family that I knew that they had the richest house in the block, in the neighborhood. And I mean, they earned it. They worked their tails off to get it. So I'm not jealous or nothing. I'm like, hey, dude, enjoy the fruits of your labor. But it's like, have you ever noticed, like, one of the problems that rich white people always have is, like, ambition skips a generation? Like, take a look at, it never fails. Like, look at Nicolas Cage. He's all ashamed of his burnout son. Look at Tom Hanks. He's ashamed of his burnout son. Miley Cyrus's brother that was on that TV show with her, he looks like Marilyn Manson. He's like the family burnout. They don't have anything to do with him. And down the street, it was like this really wealthy family. And I was pretty good friends with the guy, but he was just really weird. He was trying his hardest to be perceived as like this thug or something. And he wasn't fooling anybody, let's just say that. And the best way to describe it, he was a Wagano, a white Chicano, or at least he tried to be. And his mom was so wealthy, she was the type that, like, if Oprah or Dr. Phil said something, she dropped everything she did to go do it. And Everybody knew it. You didn't even take it with a grain of salt. You just kind of just laugh it up. And Oprah had that kind of power when she was like on network TV. Like, don't quote me on this. I don't know the exact number, but they said something for like every 60 seconds she was on TV that she was making like some ridiculous amount of money. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that Oprah Book Club. Whatever book was in the Oprah Book Club, that author was going to be a millionaire by the end of the day or by the end of the week. I kid you not. Everybody just had to buy whatever book came out in the Oprah Book Club that month. It was that dramatic. You can't make something like that up. And around that time, Dr. Phil started like gaining momentum. He lasted longer than like a year or two on TV, and he was just really weird. Like, no one knew what to really make of him. I still really don't understand him myself, and I read a few of his books. I mean, I'll tell you this much. A broken clock is correct twice a day. I'm just giving the devil his due. Every now and then he'll make a point. I'll just put it to you like that. I mean, from my understanding, he never got a doctorate. He never got a PhD. It was just some weird title to his show, Dr. Phil, but he's not a doctor. If anything, he was like a licensed counselor or something. And that's wrong on so many levels. Maybe he got an honorary PhD from some college or something, but I mean, you don't go around saying you're a doctor if you're not. That should just tell you that he's a snake oil salesman. And if you didn't know any better, why are you listening to him? He's not a doctor. He's not qualified. If anything, this guy was like Stuart Smalley in real life. So then he passes himself off as a doctor. I remember there was some movie where he came out in it and he's just like making fun of himself, talking about how he's not a real doctor. He just had like this quick little cameo and he's laughing it up. He's that much of a sellout. He's just laughing straight to the bank. And what's it called? No, I mean, let's say you earned a title, right? Like senator or governor. No matter what, they have to call you governor. Like Governor Schwarzenegger. You can't just call him Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's inappropriate. He's a governor. He was the governor. You should call him Governor Schwarzenegger, you know? Like, no, even once you're out of office, you're still president. They have to refer to you like President Clinton, President George W. Bush, President Barack Obama. You earned the title president, even though you're not in office no more. You can't just say you're a doctor if you're not a doctor. That's wrong on so many levels. But everybody just went along with it. All right, cool. I'll just level with you. About, I would say a few years ago, I think I was like in the hospital and he was just always on TV. Like, they would rerun his show like half the day. And that's when I just started watching him. I didn't agree with everything he said. I just kind of watched it because nothing else was on TV. And all right, so the FBI and the cops, they taught him like interrogation techniques. He knows a lot of like police science, like how to get you to incriminate yourself. One of the coolest things I ever saw him do was one time he had gotten some guy. He was giving him an interview in like a hotel room, like a fancy hotel room, and he was like a prime suspect. But before the whole thing started airing or whatever, before he started filming, the guy just came out in the open. He confessed that he committed the crime. That I think he murdered his wife or something, and Dr. Phil just kept it going and going, and the cops were waiting outside the hotel room the whole entire time. I thought that was impressive. Um, I always liked it whenever, like, maybe a couple times a year, he would interview like a cult leader. And sure enough, I mean, I'm pretty sure he turned them into the authorities too, but I thought that was amazing, like, that he could get like a cult leader or something to turn themselves in. Like, he could persuade them to incriminate himself on TV and stuff and do something that dumb. He wasn't always necessarily like what they call a white knight. The white knight, some of y'all might have heard that term, and I mean, he is a white knight, but not like 100% white knight. A white knight would be like a male feminist, which he is, but uh, I mean, it's just some little gimmick. I don't think like any of that stuff is really real. And he just has to keep up with this phony image. But yeah, he's a white knight. He's not really somebody that I think is like cool for doing that. Um, the worst possible impact he had on the media and society was he always wanted guys to open up about stuff, and it's like that's wrong on so many levels. And I'm gonna give you a red pill, but not just any red pill. I'm gonna give you a biblical red pill. You wanna know the truth? The truth is like we're supposed to stay quiet. There's a lot of power in silence. Like, men are not supposed to open up to like women at all. Um, and look at they call it the spirit of Delilah. We're just supposed to stay quiet. Look at Samson opened up to Delilah and eventually told him the chink in the armor. She told him what it would take to take all of his power away. And she had been plotting against him and everything, and did not end well for Samson. But yeah, don't ever let the media convince you that you're supposed to open up to women. You're not supposed to. And that's like the red pill I'm giving you. I'm just telling you the truth, man. I mean, there is a lot of power in silence. Do you know how I learned nonverbal communication? You're going to laugh, but because of my autism, I had to learn nonverbal communication from studying Charles Bronson movies. He hardly says anything in his movies. He's like just an expert at nonverbal communication. I'll confess to this one. When I was trucking, every now and then, occasionally I'd have like a coffee date with a girl, and we would be like just at the diner, just vibing, and I didn't have to say anything. I was just completely quiet. She's enjoying my masculine energy. I'm enjoying her feminine energy. She's just all docile with her head down, just barely touching her phone, just enjoying my company. I didn't say anything to her. We're just there in front of each other. Nonverbal communication. I thought it was really epic that I think earlier this year or last year, because this was like his final season on the air, of course, this white knight had to use like his white knight perspective to he was trying to slander Andrew Tate, and it was a two-part episode. It was him, Dr. Phil, some other beta male, some random woman, and of all the people he could have invited to the show, it was Rollo Tomasi. I kid you not. I have one of his books. Rollo Tomasi, he's known as the Rational Male. And what's it called? You knew that was not going to end well for Dr. Phil at all. So first, they show footage of like the impressionable teens, and they all love all, like, most of them love all the stuff Andrew Tate stands for, and they love like his whole lifestyle, all of his cars and this and that. And of course, they weren't going to show anything smart that he says. They're going to try to make him look like this demon. But that wasn't the case at all. But that's just the media for you. And Rollo Tomasi on his podcast, he said, like, of course they edited it out, but there was a lot of moments where he made Dr. Phil just sit down and shut up and just realize he's wrong. You could only take a blue pill and tell yourself lies for so long. The lie will catch up to you, man. Like, no matter what. Why tell lies to yourself? That's all a blue pill is, just living in a delusional fantasy world. You don't need to tell lies to yourself. What for? And I was cheering on Rollo the whole entire time. And I'm not a big fan of his, but on occasion I'll listen to him. But what's it called? Like, Dr. Phil regretted crossing him, you know? And of course they invited Rollo under false pretenses. There was a few times where they tried to gang up on Rollo. Rollo saw it all coming. He saw it all coming in slow motion, and he was ready for him. And he did not back down. He dug his toes into the ground. He stood his ground. He drew that line in the sand. He was ready for anything. Yep. And I hope more people saw that, but I doubt they did. But to me, that was symbolic. You don't be trying to give blue pills to a man who's completely red pilled. Yep. But yeah, towards the end of the show, Dr. Phil was trying to explain like some nonsense about how his marriage is, and I mean, it's as clear as day that he's just as much of a simp as Steve Harvey. And there's no denying that at all. They're both two peas in a pod, man. They both have the same exact mentality. And Rollo said something. It wasn't even being sarcastic. Rollo just had to goof off with him and play cat and mouse with him some more. Well, anyways, I hope you learned a lesson or two from what I said, especially that I gave you that biblical red pill. There is power in silence, folks, for real. All right, everybody. I still got COVID. The main thing is like I'm really dizzy, and I can't stay asleep for that long. I just keep waking up, and I kind of feel like Elvis, and by that I mean I got to take all this medicine just to wake up, and then I got to take a bunch of medicine just to fall asleep. And it got old real quick, and I don't like the COVID fatigue. But hopefully making this video will help me stay asleep for a while, like some good sleep. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.